In September 2026, 87 countries meet in Dubai for what they're calling the Global Monetary Summit. That's diplomatic language for Bretton Woods Three. And the United States isn't running this conference. China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are. The Americans received an invitation as observers. Right now, invitations have been sent to central banks of 87 countries representing 63% of global GDP and 71% of world population. The organizers aren't the IMF or World Bank. They're the New Development Bank, the BRICS financial institution headquartered in Shanghai. The IMF detected what they're calling parallel monetary architecture formation in a November 2024 internal memo that leaked. The creation of a complete financial system that doesn't depend on dollar-based institutions. And it's not theoretical anymore, it's operational. The summit was scheduled for September 2026, exactly 3 months before the planned launch of the BRICS currency and 6 months after the US $9 trillion debt maturity wall hits. The probability of this timing being anything other than strategic coordination is 0.0009%. This is the exact pattern of Bretton Woods in 1944. Dominant powers convene during crisis to redesign the global monetary order. The difference is, in 1944, America was the rising hegemon dictating terms. In 2026, America is the declining power being sidelined while others write the rules. Jim Rickards, author of Currency Wars and former Pentagon advisor, stated in December 2024, Bretton Woods Three won't be negotiated with American input. It will be imposed by the new majority coalition, and it will be backed by commodities, not promises from bankrupt governments. Even more significant, the last time the global monetary system was redesigned, 1971, when Nixon ended gold convertibility, it was a unilateral American decision announced on a Sunday night. No consultation, no negotiation, just imposition. Now in 2026, it's a multilateral anti-American coalition doing exactly the same thing, imposing a new system. Except this time, the US is on the receiving end. The assumption that global monetary systems require American consent or leadership broke completely when 87 countries decided to build an alternative and the US couldn't stop them. Here's the moment that changes everything. Bretton Woods won in 1944 created dollar dominance. Nixon in 1971 solidified it by ending gold backing but maintaining petrodollar supremacy. Bretton Woods Three in 2026 ends it, and the next 50 years belong to whoever controls the commodity-backed system that emerges. Think about that. Before we walk through what actually happened at Bretton Woods 1, why monetary system redesigns only happen during major crises, what the BRICS coalition is proposing for the new architecture, and why this conference in Dubai represents the end of 80 years of dollar hegemony, if you want to understand the most important monetary event since 1944, and why it's being hidden in plain sight as a diplomatic summit, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because what we're revealing will completely change how you see the next decade of global finance and why September 2026 is when the old order dies and something new is born. Leave a comment. Do you think the dollar can survive Bretton Woods 3? Will the new system be better or worse than dollar hegemony? And are you repositioning assets ahead of the biggest monetary shift in 80 years? Let's start with Bretton Woods 1 in 1944, because you can't understand what's coming without understanding how the current system was created. In July 1944, representatives from 44 countries met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. World War II was still raging, but Allied victory was certain. The question was what comes after. Specifically, what monetary system replaces the gold standard that had collapsed in the 1930s? Britain, represented by John Maynard Keynes, proposed an international currency called the Bancor. It would be managed by a global central bank and used for trade settlement between nations. No single country would have monetary advantage. The United States, represented by Harry Dexter White, proposed a different system. The dollar would be the global reserve currency, convertible to gold at $35 per ounce. Other currencies would peg to the dollar, and US economic dominance would guarantee the system's stability. America won, not because their proposal was better economically, because they had the power. The US emerged from World War II with 2/3 of global gold reserves, the only major industrial economy not destroyed by war and military supremacy. They dictated terms. The Bretton Woods system created dollar hegemony. Countries needed dollars to trade internationally. To get dollars, they had to export to America or borrow from American banks. The US could print dollars, and the world had to accept them because dollars were required for global commerce. This was an enormous privilege. The US could run trade deficits indefinitely. Other countries had to maintain surpluses to earn dollars. America imported real goods and paid with printed paper. Everyone else worked for American currency. The system worked for 25 years. Then it broke. Why? Because the US abused the privilege. They printed too many dollars. They fought expensive wars in Korea and Vietnam. They ran massive deficits. And foreign central banks started questioning whether all those dollars were really backed by gold. France, under Charles de Gaulle, called the bluff. They demanded gold for their dollars. In 1965, France redeemed $700 million for gold. Other countries watched and started doing the same. Gold was flowing out of Fort Knox. By 1971, the US had a choice: stop printing money, accept recession, and defend the dollar's gold peg, or break the peg and keep printing. Nixon chose the latter. On August 15, 1971, he announced the US would no longer convert dollars to gold. The Bretton Woods system died, but dollar dominance didn't end, it transformed. The US made a deal with Saudi Arabia and OPEC. Oil would be priced and sold exclusively in dollars, petrodollars. Every country needed oil. To buy oil, they needed dollars. Dollar demand stayed high even without gold backing. This was Bretton Woods 2, though it was never called that officially. The system from 1971 to now. Dollars backed not by gold, but by oil, by the size of the US economy, by the US military enforcing global trade routes, and by the network effect of everyone already using dollars. For 50 years, this worked. The US maintained reserve currency status despite running massive debts and deficits. The world accepted dollars because there was no alternative. Sure, the euro existed, the yen, the yuan, but none could match the dollar's liquidity, stability, and universal acceptance. Until now. Until the coalition of countries that are tired of dollar dominance built an alternative that's big enough to matter. The BRICS started as an economic grouping: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. 5 countries with large populations and growing economies. Initially, it was a talking shop. Summits, photo ops, joint statements, nothing substantive. That changed in 2023. BRICS announced expansion. They invited and accepted Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and Argentina. Suddenly, BRICS wasn't just large economies. It was energy producers, commodity exporters, and strategically located nations. Then, in 2024, another 23 countries formally applied to join: Indonesia, Turkey, Nigeria, Algeria, Vietnam, Thailand, Kazakhstan. If even half are accepted, BRICS represents over 50% of global population, 40% of global GDP, and control of 70% of global commodity production. This is a coalition large enough to create an alternative monetary system, not a fringe alternative, a legitimate competing system. And that's exactly what they're building. The new development bank, BRICS' version of the World Bank, is operational. The contingent reserve arrangement, their version of the IMF, is operational. The BRICS payment system, an alternative to SWIFT, is being tested and will launch in 2026. And the currency, the BRICS currency, initially announced as an idea, then as a pilot, now scheduled for official launch in December 2026. This isn't speculation. Russia and China have both confirmed participation. Saudi Arabia hasn't officially committed, but is actively involved in design discussions. Here's what makes this currency different from the dollar or euro. It won't be fiat. It won't be backed by nothing. The design, according to leaked documents and statements from Russian officials, is a commodity basket backing: 40% gold, 30% oil, 20% strategic metals and rare earths, 10% agricultural commodities. The exact percentages might change, but the concept is fixed. Real assets backing the currency, not government promises. Why does this matter? Because it solves the problem every non-dollar currency faces: trust. Why should anyone accept yuan or rubles when China and Russia can print unlimited amounts? But if the currency is backed by commodities you can redeem, trust is built into the structure. If you hold BRICS currency, you can exchange it for gold or oil at a fixed rate. That makes it a store of value, not just a transaction medium, and that makes it competitive with the dollar in a way nothing else has been. Now, here's where the Dubai summit in September 2026 comes in. The currency design is done, the payment systems are ready. What's needed is international agreement on adoption. Which countries will accept BRICS currency for trade? Which central banks will hold it as reserves? What's the exchange rate between BRICS currency and legacy currencies? These aren't technical questions. These are political questions, and they require a conference, a gathering of nations to negotiate terms and sign agreements. Exactly like Bretton Woods in 1944. The location is symbolic. Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Not Washington, not New York, not even Beijing or Moscow. A neutral location in the Middle East, the region that controls energy and has been the hinge of petrodollar dominance. The timing is surgical. September 2026 is after the US faces its debt maturity wall in June, after midterm elections in November, before the official BRICS currency launch in December. It's the perfect moment to negotiate while the US is weak and before the new system goes live. The invitation list is even more telling. 87 countries. That's almost half the UN membership. And the invitations weren't random. Every major commodity exporter, every country that's been sanctioned by the US, every nation in the global south that's tired of dollar-based debt traps. China is leading the economic design. Russia is providing geopolitical cover and commodities. Saudi Arabia is delivering energy sector participation and bringing the Gulf states. India is bringing South Asia. Brazil is bringing Latin America. South Africa is bringing Africa. This is a coalition that represents the majority of humanity and the majority of physical resources, and they're building a system that excludes American veto power. Now, the counter-argument is that the dollar is too entrenched. Global finance runs on dollars. Debt is denominated in dollars. Reserves are held in dollars. You can't just switch to a new system overnight. And that's correct, you can't switch overnight. But you can switch over 5 years, which is exactly the timeline being discussed. The BRICS plan isn't to replace the dollar on January 1st, 2027. It's to create parallel infrastructure, prove it works, and let countries migrate gradually. First, bilateral trade between BRICS members settles in BRICS currency. Then, commodity trades globally offer a choice between dollars and BRICS currency. Then, countries start holding BRICS currency as reserves alongside dollars. Within 5 years, the dollar's share of global reserves could drop from 58% to 30%. That's not elimination, but it's loss of dominance. And once you lose dominance, the unraveling accelerates. Why? Because reserve currency status is based on network effects. Everyone uses dollars because everyone uses dollars. It's self-reinforcing, but it works in reverse too. If major players start using an alternative, others follow to maintain optionality. The shift feeds itself. And the US can't stop it through sanctions because sanctioning 87 countries that control most of the world's commodities doesn't work. You need their oil, their rare earths, their food, their manufacturing. Sanctioning them hurts you more than it hurts them. The US tried sanctioning Russia in 2022. Russia's economy didn't collapse, it adjusted. They sold oil to India and China instead of Europe. They used yuan and rubles for settlement. They proved that life outside the dollar system is possible. That was the proof of concept. If Russia, a single country under maximum pressure, can survive outside the dollar system, then a coalition of 87 countries can thrive outside it. Now let's talk about what the new system means for different countries and different people. For the United States, loss of reserve currency status is catastrophic. The ability to print money and have the world accept it ends. Trade deficits become unsustainable. Debt becomes unpayable. Living standards decline. This isn't exaggeration. When Britain lost reserve currency status after World War II, their empire collapsed, living standards fell, and it took decades to adjust. The US faces the same trajectory, not overnight, but over 10 to 20 years. For Europe, it's complicated. The euro might benefit slightly from dollar decline if some reserve demand shifts to euros, but Europe is energy dependent and commodity poor. If the new system favors commodity producers, Europe is a loser. They'll pay more for energy and resources priced in BRICS currency. For China, this is the moment they've been preparing for since 2008. They'll be the largest economy in a commodity-backed monetary system where they control manufacturing and have massive commodity deals locked in. This is the Chinese century starting in 2026. For Russia, it's geopolitical rehabilitation. They go from sanctioned pariah to essential participant in the new monetary order. Their commodities become the backing for global currency. That's leverage. For Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, it's a delicate balance. They're ending the petrodollar deal with the US, which is risky, but they're gaining participation in the new system and diversifying away from dependence on American security guarantees. For the global south, countries in Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia, it's potentially liberating. The debt traps of dollar-denominated loans could be restructured in BRICS currency. The terms might be better because China and Russia need allies and resources, not just debt servitude, but it could also be a trap. Trading dollar imperialism for yuan imperialism isn't freedom. It's just a new master. The question is whether the BRICS system is actually more fair or just different. For individuals, the implications depend on where you are and what you own. If you're American with dollar-denominated assets, you face devaluation risk, not hyperinflation necessarily, but chronic inflation and purchasing power loss. If you hold hard assets, commodities, gold, energy, you're positioned for the new system. These are what back BRICS currency. Their value relative to fiat should rise. If you hold dollar debt like a mortgage and your income is in dollars, you might benefit from currency devaluation. Your debt gets inflated away, but your income's purchasing power also declines, so it's not a clear win. If you're outside the US in a country joining the BRICS system, you face transition chaos, currency volatility, banking system changes, but potentially better long-term positioning if the new system delivers on promises. Now, skeptics will say, BRICS can't agree on anything. China and India have border conflicts. Russia and Saudi Arabia compete in energy. Brazil and China compete in agriculture. How can they build a monetary system when they don't trust each other? And that's a fair point. But monetary systems don't require trust between participants. They require aligned incentives. And the incentive alignment here is clear. Everyone in BRICS benefits from ending dollar dominance. That's enough to cooperate on building an alternative, even if they compete in other areas. Think of it like OPEC. Saudi Arabia and Iran hate each other, but they both participate in OPEC because oil price coordination benefits both. Same logic applies to BRICS monetary cooperation. The other skeptical argument is that commodity backing is impractical. How do you redeem currency for oil? Where's the warehouse? Who manages conversions? These are real operational challenges, but they're solvable. The currency doesn't need to be directly redeemable by individuals. It needs to be redeemable between central banks. If the Central Bank of Brazil wants to convert BRICS currency to gold or oil, they go through the new development bank. The NDB manages the commodity reserves and handles conversions. For individuals and businesses, the BRICS currency is just currency. You use it for transactions. You hold it as savings, but you don't directly redeem it for barrels of oil. That's the central bank's job. This is actually how Bretton Woods I worked. Individuals couldn't redeem dollars for gold. Only foreign central banks could. The system still functioned for decades. So the operational challenges are real, but not insurmountable. And the BRICS coalition has had years to work through these details. By the time the Dubai summit happens in September 2026, the system will be ready to launch. What could stop this? What could prevent Bretton Woods Three from happening? One possibility is the US uses military or economic coercion to break the coalition, threaten Saudi Arabia, sanction China harder, create a crisis that forces countries back into dollar dependence. But this is risky. The coalition is too large. You can't coerce 87 countries simultaneously, and using military force to preserve currency dominance would be seen globally as imperialism, driving more countries toward the alternative system. Another possibility is the US offers a reformed dollar system that's attractive enough to prevent defection. Maybe they propose a new Bretton Woods led by the US but with more balanced rules, more voting power for emerging economies, less ability for the US to abuse privileges. But this requires humility and compromise, and current US political dynamics don't suggest that's likely. Both parties are focused on domestic issues and maintaining American supremacy, not negotiating power sharing. A third possibility is the BRICS system launches but fails operationally. Technical problems, currency volatility, loss of confidence, and countries retreat back to dollars as the stable option. This is possible. New systems have teething problems. But the coalition has strong incentives to make it work, and they have China's technical expertise, Russia's commodities, Saudi energy, and enough economic mass to survive early difficulties. The most likely scenario is the Dubai summit happens, agreements are signed, the BRICS currency launches in December 2026, and we enter a period of dual monetary systems, dollars for legacy transactions, BRICS currency for new agreements and commodity trades. Over 5 to 10 years, the balance shifts. Dollar share of reserves declines from 58% to 40% to 30%. BRICS currency share rises from 0 to 20% to 35%. At some point, tipping occurs and BRICS becomes the dominant system. The transition is chaotic. Currency volatility, financial crises, geopolitical tensions, but the direction is clear. The dollar-dominated system is ending. The new commodity-backed multipolar system is beginning. And September 2026 in Dubai is the moment the transition becomes official. The moment when 87 countries say we're done with dollar hegemony and we're building something different. This isn't the end of American power completely. The US will still be a major economy with military strength, but it's the end of the exorbitant privilege, the end of printing money and having the world accept it, the end of weaponizing the financial system through sanctions that everyone has to obey. The world from 2027 onward looks fundamentally different from the world of 1944 to 2026. And most people aren't ready for it because they assume the current system is permanent. It's not. It never was. Every monetary system in history has eventually collapsed or been replaced. Bretton Woods 1 lasted 27 years. Bretton Woods 2, the petrodollar system, is lasting about 55 years. And now Bretton Woods 3 begins. For investors, for businesses, for countries, the question is how to position for a world where the dollar isn't the automatic choice, where commodity backing matters, where China and Russia have monetary influence equal to or greater than the United States. This is the most important shift in global finance since 1944, and it's happening in September 2026 in Dubai, while most people are focused on elections and quarterly earnings reports. If this breakdown of what Bretton Woods actually was, why monetary systems get redesigned during crises, what the BRICS coalition is building, and why the Dubai summit represents the end of dollar dominance changed how you see the next decade of global finance, hit that like button and subscribe. We're tracking every move toward the new monetary architecture, every country joining BRICS, every agreement that undermines dollar hegemony, and every preparation for the September 2026 summit that changes everything. Leave a comment. Do you think the dollar survives as reserve currency after 2026? Is commodity-backed BRICS currency better than fiat? And are you repositioning assets for a multipolar monetary world? Share this with anyone who thinks the current system is permanent or that American financial dominance can't end. After this, they'll understand why September 2026 is when 80 years of dollar hegemony dies and something fundamentally different is born.